Hello there, and welcome to If the Emperor Never Went to the Death Star in Return of the Jedi. The galaxy trembled on the edge of a final reckoning. From the throne room atop the Imperial Palace on Coruscant, Darth Sidious, the Emperor, stared through the vast windows at the endless city below. His red-robed royal guards stood motionless at the door, but he barely noticed them. The trap was set. The second Death Star hovered in orbit around the forest moon of Endor, incomplete to the eye but fully armed and operational where it mattered. The Rebel Alliance, desperate and overconfident, was preparing to strike. They would come, they would fall, and with them, the last flickers of resistance would be extinguished. He would not be there. It was a decision that surprised even Lord Vader. "You're not coming?" Vader asked, alone in a hollow conference days prior. "I have seen enough of war's treacheries," Sidious said, a voice slivering with quiet power. "Let the rebels believe the striking at the heart. Let them see you. And the boy. It is his test now. Turn him or destroy him. Either outcome benefits us." Vader had paused, a flicker of something else behind the mask. Sidious noted it, but he said nothing. Now, on Coruscant, the Emperor meditated in the shadows of the dark side, trusting his apprentice to carry out the plan, trusting the Force to deliver him his next vessel, or eliminate Skywalker altogether. He was wrong. Far above Endor, Luke Skywalker stood in blinders aboard an Imperial shuttle, heart steady despite the storm inside. Beside him, Darth Vader loomed, silent, unreadable. They had said little since Luke surrendered. Luke had come willingly, not out of fear, not even in defiance, but in belief. He could feel it. However buried, however distant, the light was still alive inside the armored monster behind him. "You won't bring me to him," Luke said softly as he descended toward the Death Star hangar. "You're afraid." Vader didn't respond. Not yet. The cold, metallic corridors of the Death Star hummed with silent menace. As Luke was escorted through its halls by troopers and Vader, there was no presence beyond. No throne room, no Emperor, no final judge of fate. Only Vader. And for the first time, the mask was beginning to crack. In the private chamber above the main hangar, a smaller throne room built for Vader's use, the two stood alone. Luke's blinders released. Vader turned. "The Emperor is not here." Luke blinked. "What?" "He remains in Coruscant. He has trusted me to complete your training, or end your life." The saber on Vader's belt remained untouched. Luke's hung on his side. But something had shifted. "You tried to turn me before," Luke said, his voice quiet but sure. "On Cloud City. You told me to join you, to overthrow him." Vader was silent. "I'm still offering you the same thing, but I won't join you in darkness. You can still come back." A long silence followed. "It is too late for me, son." "No," Luke said, stepping forward. "It's not. He's not here. You don't have to be his puppet anymore. You don't have to be Vader." There was a flash of moment. A red blade ignited, and Vader attacked. The hum of the red lightsaber was like thunder in the chamber. Vader swung with brutal precision, each strike a test of Luke's resolve. The younger Skywalker ignited his green blade and parried, his arm tighter, more controlled than it had been on Cloud City. He was no longer a student, but he wasn't fighting to win. He was fighting to save. "I don't want to fight you, Father." But Vader pressed on. His blows powerful, deliberate. Luke countered, ducked, rolled behind the support pillar and tried to center himself. "This is your destiny," Vader boomed. "You do not understand what he is. You don't understand what I am." The blades clashed again, sending sparks against the walls. Luke struck low, forced Vader back. The older warrior's foot slid across the polished floor, his stance briefly broken, and Luke stepped away again. "Then help me understand," he said. "Tell me. Let me help you. You don't have to keep serving him." Vader hesitated. The red blade flickered in his hand. "You don't know the things I've done," he said, voice low, distorted by the modulator. the people I've killed, the pain I've caused. I don't care, Luke said firmly. You're still my father. I can feel the conflict in you. You wanted to kill the Emperor before. Now's your chance. With me. Together. There was silence. The saber in Vader's hand lowered slightly. Why? Why would you still want me? Because I believe in you, Luke said, stepping forward. Because I'm your son. Because it's what she should have wanted. For a moment, the weight of the galaxy seemed to hang between them. Then, with a hiss, the red blade shut down. Vader fell to one knee. His head bowed. Padme, he whispered. Luke stepped to him slowly. Cautiously, he deactivated his own weapon. You haven't failed her. Not yet. For the first time in decades, Vader reached up with a gloved hand and removed his helmet. Only the mask. The face beneath. It was scarred, tired, pale, but human. Anakin Skywalker, he said, as if speaking it hurt. He still lives because of you. Luke didn't speak. He simply placed a hand on his father's shoulder. The Death Star rumbled. Outside, the battle had begun. Rebel ships soared through blaster fire. The Endor shield still held, but the tide was turning. Luke and Anakin stood together in silence. There was no need for words. The war was not over, but the galaxy had just changed forever. The Death Star shook as explosions echoed from deep within its unfinished frame. The Rebel fleet had found these stations' weaknesses, and without Palpatine's command presence, Imperial coordination was faltering. Fighters pierced the superstructure. Turbo laser fire flickered across the void. In the command tower, alarms blared. An officer turned to his superior, pale with panic. Commander, systems are failing. We've lost the main reactor containment. But there was no reply. The Empire's leaders had no answers without their Emperor. Down below, in the isolated tower chamber, Anakin and Luke moved with urgency. Anakin replaced the faceplate of his helmet, locking it back into place. The symbolism wasn't lost on him. The mask of Vader was still there, but something was different now. He walked lighter, straighter. The weight on his soul, not his shoulders, had begun to lift. We have to go. Now. Luke nodded and keyed into the internal comms. R2, come in. We need a ship out of the hangar. Fast. The chirping of the little astromech confirmed he was already working. Minutes later, a Lambda-class shuttle lifted off, engines rolling inside. Luke piloted, while Anakin sat quietly beside him. Behind them, the Death Star blossomed into a silent inferno. On the forest moon below, celebrations had begun. The shield generator had been destroyed by Han, Leia, Chewie, and the strike team. Ewoks sang and danced among the trees. Fireworks from the Rebel fleet lit the skies, but Luke was not among them. The shuttle glided through atmosphere and touched down in a quiet clearing. As the ramp hissed open, Luke stepped out, then turned to help his father down. Vader walked out under the open sky. The light of Endor's twin moons bathed his armor. Troopers from the strike team spotted them and raised their weapons, but Luke raised a hand. He's not your enemy. Leia was already there, blaster in hand. She froze. The man in black armor. Her father. The Force told her the truth before her mind can reject it. Anakin removed his helmet once again. Leia's breath caught in her throat. You really are him. He nodded. I never wanted this, he said softly, but I will make it right. Leia looked to Luke. Tears welled in her eyes. Then, without a word, she turned and walked away. It would take time. That night, while the celebration continued, Luke and Anakin stood apart from the crowd. Chewbacca roared in the distance. Han toasted with Lando. Ewoks danced on logs. But here, the tone was softer. The Force whispered through the trees. Then, two figures appeared, glowing softly in the shadows. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yoda. Anakin turned slowly to face them. Obi-Wan didn't speak. He simply smiled, not with triumph, but with relief. The student he had thought he had lost was home again. Yoda nodded. Returned, the chosen one has. And his son, truth, he has found. Anakin bowed his head. I thought I had destroyed everything. You planted the seed, Obi-Wan said gently. He made it grow. Luke stepped beside them. The presence of the Force around them pulsed with warmth. For the first time in his life, Anakin Skywalker was free. Across the stars, the explosion of the second Death Star echoed in Morven light. It sent a shockwave through the Force. On Coruscant, in the darkened halls of the Imperial Palace, Darth Sidious sat alone in his throne chamber. His meditation was interrupted by a tremor that stabbed into his soul like a blade. No. The hollow feed from Endor had already gone dark. Communications lost. Fleet command unresponsive. He knew. Somehow, he knew. He stood, cloak billowing like smoke, eyes burning gold. Skywalker. The word left his lips like venom, but it wasn't Luke. It was Anakin. He reached out for the Force, searching, but the bond he once had with his apprentice was gone. The mind he once controlled was a fortress now, a void of resistance. Vader was gone. The boy had turned him. The chosen one had risen. And now, the Emperor stood alone. Yet, the Empire itself remained. The massive bureaucracy, the planetary governors, the war fleets across hundreds of systems. They hadn't vanished with the Death Star. The Imperial propaganda machine broadcasts fabricated the message within hours. The Emperor lives. Lord Vader died defending the station. The rebel attack was repelled, at great cost. But no one believed it. Not anymore. From the slums of Corellia to the alleyways of Coruscant's undercity, citizens began to rise. The myth of Imperial invisibility had shattered. The rebellion, once scattered, now surged with movement. More systems pledged allegiance to their cause. Cells that had hidden in shadows now marched openly in the streets. And within the highest levels of the rebellion, something even more unthinkable was happening. They were preparing for war on Coruscant itself. In the quiet of Endor's forests, Luke stood before the hollow table of the rebel leadership. Leia, Lando, Han, Mon Mothma, Admiral Akbar, all were present, though some still looked at him with unease. "We can't just launch an assault on the capital," Mon Mothma said. "We don't have the numbers." "We don't need numbers," Luke replied calmly. "We need the people. They're already there, waiting." He looked around the room. Palpatine is alone. No Vader, no apprentice, just him. This is our moment. Leia, still shaken with the revelation of her father, stood. "And what about him?" she said coldly. The room fell silent. Anakin stepped into the light. His armor was different now. Sleeker, more mobile, less like a weapon, more like a shield. Gone was the respirator hiss, replaced by subtle, regulated breathwork, built with the help of rebel engineers in R2-D2. "I don't expect your forgiveness," he said. "I only offer this. My help, my strength, to finish what I started and destroy the Sith." Leia's fists were clenched, but Luke gently touched her shoulder. "He's not Vader anymore." She didn't speak, but she didn't walk away. That was enough. The plan was formed. Rebel fleets would stage a false assault on an outer sector to draw away remaining Star Destroyers. A stealth fleet, coordinated by Lando and Admiral Akbar, would punch through Coruscant's orbital defenses. Meanwhile, on the ground, coordinated uprisings would ignite the city, with rebels smuggling weapons and comms to loyalists inside the Undercity. And when the time came, Anakin and Luke would go straight to the Imperial Palace, to the throne room, to the Emperor. The night before departure, Luke stood beside the Falcon, checking gears with R2-D2. Then he felt it, a presence behind him. "It's been a long time." He turned. Ahsoka Tano stood in the shadows, her sabers in her back, her eyes locked on his. Behind her, R2 chirped excitedly. "I heard what you're doing," she said. "I'm not missing this." Luke smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that." Anakin emerged from the ship. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Ahsoka stepped forward and embraced him. It was not the embrace of a general or a warrior. It was the embrace of a daughter who had mourned her father for far too long. "You've come back," she whispered. "You saved me," he replied. "All of you did." The final journey had begun. The Battle of Coruscant was about to begin. Coruscant had never known silence. Even in the dead of night, its billions of lights buzzed. Its skyways glowed with speeders, its towers hummed with life and ambition. But on this day, as the rebel fleet broke through the outer perimeter, as civilian uprisings began to erupt block by block, the world itself seemed to hold its breath. Above the planet, Star Destroyers swarmed like hornets, blasting at incoming Mon Calamari cruisers and squadrons of X-Wings. But the coordination was sloppy. Imperial officers shouted contingency orders. Rumors of the Emperor's death had spread through the ranks like wildfire. Down below, the people rose. In the undersea, in the working districts, in the dark alleyways where stormtroopers had ruled for years, now the citizens turned on them. Armed with blasters, stolen gear, and decades of rage, the streets of Coruscant became a war zone. And cutting through it all was a single stolen Imperial shuttle. Aboard it stood Anakin Skywalker, armored in dark silver and black, not as a servant of fear, but as a protector of peace. Beside him stood Luke, calm and focused, and Ahsoka, blades hanging at her sides, her expression unreadable. R2 chirped once, then opened the channel. We're landing on the palace roof. They'll be waiting. Anakin nodded. Let them wait. They landed in fire and steel. The roof of the Imperial Palace erupted as the elite red-clothed royal guards descended, flanked by the Sovereign Protectors, Palpatine's final, most loyal force-wielding elite. Ahsoka leapt from the ramp before it had even fully lowered. Sabers ignited mid-air. I've got the guards. You get him. Anakin gave her a nod, half gratitude, half farewell. She vanished into the fray like a phantom, carving through the elite guards with speed and grace. Luke and Anakin charged through the entrance, R2 keeping pace behind, slicing doors and short-circuiting defenses as they went. Every hallway was a trap, every chamber a battle, but nothing stopped them. At last, the doors of the Emperor's throne room groaned open. The chamber was as dark as ever, black stone and durasteel wrapped in crimson banners. At the center, his back turned, stood Darth Sidious. He knew. He'd always known. Skywalker, he hissed, not turning. You return not as a servant, but as a traitor. I return as myself, Anakin said. Palpatine turned. His face had aged. His voice was venom. His eyes burned brighter than ever. You think redemption absolves you? You think this child can defeat me? I am the Senate. I am the Empire. I am the dark side. He raised his hands. Force lightning exploded from his fingertips, a web of purple rage tearing through the air. But Anakin didn't flinch. His new armor absorbed it. The lightning arched across his chestplate and vanished. That won't work on me anymore, he said calmly. Palpatine's fury became pure hate. He lunged, his own red saber ignited, and he spun through the air like a demon. The duel began. It was a storm of the Force. Sidious was a whirlwind, faster, more vicious than any Sith alive. His blade danced with shrieking precision, slashing at Luke, forcing him to fall back. The Emperor turned on Anakin, battering him with rage forged in decades of fear and domination. Anakin met every strike with strength. Luke flowed like water, defending, dodging, countering with grace. The Emperor screamed, exploding the floor beneath them with a pulse of dark side energy. Marble and fire split the chamber in two. The three warriors fought across it, blades crashing in arcs of light. Then Palpatine hurled Luke backward with a wave of lightning. Luke smashed into the far wall, crumbling, alive but down. The Emperor turned to Anakin. Your son is weak, just like you. Anakin's saber twirled, crackling. No, he said, he's everything you could never be. The duel reached its peak. Two titans, light and dark, destiny and despair. And then, with a roar that shook the heavens, Anakin drove his blade through Sidious's chest. The Emperor gasped. A final flicker of lightning arched from his hands. Then silence. Sidious collapsed in smoke and shadows, his face frozen in disbelief. The Sith were dead. Outside, the tide of the battle shifted instantly. The signal had gone out. The Emperor was gone. Stormtroopers began to lay down their weapons. Officers fled. Coruscant's skylines erupted in cheers, sirens, and the noise of crumbling power. Victory had come. Back inside the throne room, Luke climbed to his feet and approached the body of the fallen tyrant. Anakin stood over it, his right arm severed at the elbow, cybernetics sparkling, smoke rising from the limb. But he didn't seem to notice the pain. He looked to Luke, then to the rising light from the shattered windows. "It's over." Luke nodded. "For now." Anakin took a breath. "Then let's begin again." It had been 3 months since Coruscant fell. The transition wasn't easy. The Imperial machine had been massive. Bureaucracy, military, systems of fear and suppression that didn't vanish overnight. But with the Emperor dead, and no heir to claim his throne, the rebellion seized control of the capital. Former senators, rebel generals, freedom fighters, and citizens flooded into the heart of the once terrifying regime. The Empire didn't fall in one day, but its will to fight had been shattered. Peace talks began between outer sectors. Entire star systems declared independence from the Empire's remnants and pledged loyalty to the rebellion. The new Galactic Alliance was born. Not perfect, not unified, but real. And at its heart was a symbol of everything that had changed. In the Temple District, long abandoned, desecrated during the Clone Wars, a single tower now glowed with fresh life. The Jedi Temple, partially restored, had been reopened. Inside its great walls, 2 figures stood in silence. Anakin Skywalker, no longer clad in the armor of Darth Vader, wore robes of a deep grey and white. He still bore scars, physical and emotional, but he no longer hid them. Beside him stood Luke, younger but wiser, his presence now calm and stone. His saber hung at his side, but his power was in his words, his faith, and the hope he inspired. Across from them stood Leia, arms folded. For weeks she had avoided this place, avoided him, but not anymore. "So," she said quietly, "a Jedi again?" Anakin nodded once. "Not the one I was, but something better." Leia looked at him for a long moment, then nodded back. "Good. Then let's get to work." Later that day, as the sun set over Coruscant, citizens gathered outside the temple steps. Members of the new Senate, rebel commanders, ex-clones, families, soldiers, children, all waiting for something they had not seen in generations. And then, he emerged. Grand Master Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One. No longer a myth, no longer a monster, but a man redeemed. He stepped forward, flanked by Luke and Ahsoka. "For years, the Jedi lost their way," Anakin spoke, his voice clear, carried by the Force itself. "And I lost myself along with them. But the light never dies. It only waits for those brave enough to find it again. The Jedi will not return as they were," he continued. "They will return stronger, wiser, guardians, not soldiers, seekers of peace, not pawns of politics. We begin again, with the truth, with balance, with hope." And the crowd erupted. Cheers, chants, laughter, tears. The city shook with joy, not from fear, not from conquest, but because the people could finally feel something they had not felt in a long time. The Force was with them again. That night, Luke stood atop the Jedi Temple, gazing at the stars. He felt a similar presence. Anakin stepped beside him, quiet for a moment. "You've always been stronger than me," he said softly. Luke smiled. "I just never stopped believing." Anakin put a hand on his shoulder. "Then that's what we'll teach them." Behind them, younglings arrived at the temple gates. A new generation, eager to learn, to build, to begin. And so, beneath the sky filled with stars, and with the shadow of the Sith finally gone, the new Jedi Order was born. Not from fire, not from fear, but from forgiveness. And the galaxy would never be the same. And that is it for What If the Emperor Never Went to the Death Star in Return of the Jedi. Honestly, I think it's my favorite What If I've made yet. Plus, I think genuinely the editing I did for this video and the music is like the best I've done yet. Plus, the thumbnail of this video is on another level. And the best thing is I made the thumbnail myself on a live stream yesterday as well. This is honestly, I think this thumbnail just outweighs anything that has ever been on the channel. Even though 2 thumbnails I paid for, the 2 previous What If thumbnails. So yeah, let me know what you think about the thumbnail, because I would really like to know, because I made this thumbnail myself. And let me know what you think about the What If. It's my favorite What If I've made yet. It's my favorite thumbnail. It's my favorite video out of any of the What Ifs that I have made. But if you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe, as we're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. Once we do, we're going to do a face reveal. Like the video and turn your notifications on to be notified about next time I post a Star Wars What If. I'm trying to post a Star Wars What If every Thursday and Sunday every single week. Also, join our Discord server, link in the description. And if you want to support the channel and get exclusive perks, consider joining our Patreon, link in the description. And that is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. This is the way, and may the Force be with you. Until then, I will see you next time. Hey, you didn't watch it? Well, check out the video on the left side of the screen, which is specifically recommended for you, or check out the playlist on the right of the screen, which contains similar videos to this one, made by me, of course. Hey, remember to subscribe.